topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Hey, before we start, we got a great show today. But before we start, our great producer, Rebel, is down in southern Louisiana. And if you've been following the weather at all, they are going to be hit sometime tomorrow by a hurricane. I'd love for everybody to keep Rachel and Rebel and everybody in Louisiana in your prayers. They're saying it could be a bad one. So we appreciate if you'll do that for us. Welcome to today's show. You know, we get so many emails from you all saying about your tax problems. Well, you know what? You might have a tax problem, but our first expert today is these people know tax relief. And I am telling you, they're one of the finest tax relief companies. It's called Federal Tax Law Group. If you're watching on TV, we're rolling right on the scroll. If you're listening on radio or iHeart, like most of you, or any of our other 660 platforms, we will be giving out their phone number and their website during the show. So, hey, let's get started. Great show today. Looks like we lost our feed. Here it comes. Here. Oh, we got all of them now. So let me introduce you to, we've got Ryan Campos. He's in the top left-hand corner. And Rachel's back again today.
Hi.
Rachel, go play that piano for us.
I'm still not ready yet.
Okay.
Still taking her lessons.
So
Lessons coming soon.
Listen, I had a joke around. Poor Rebel, our great producer, is getting ready to go through a major hurricane, so we got to kind of lighten it up today. So tell Ryan, you want to tell us about Federal Tax Law Group?
Yeah, absolutely. So here at Federal Tax Law Group, we're a tax resolution firm. So we're comprised of tax attorneys, enrolled agents, tax preparers, consultants, and so on. So we specialize in helping individuals that owe money to the IRS. So a lot of our clientele comes with back taxes that are owed. So a lot of people haven't filed for 1 year, 2 years, or even more. We've seen cases where they haven't filed for 10 years or more. So those are all different things that we can assist people in getting compliant with. And then once we get our clients compliant, then we can negotiate their balances due through one or a combination of the IRS programs. So there's different programs like the offer and compromise, which a lot of people have probably heard about. That's where we would offer the IRS to settle what's owed for a smaller amount. And that, of course, is based off their qualifications. So you do need to qualify financially for that. And then there's other programs like penalty abatement. There's installment agreements. So if you don't have the lump sum of cash to pay them off, we can actually structure affordable monthly payments. So there's different ways that can be done, whether through a streamlined installment agreement, where they look at the amount of months that they can pay it off over, which is typically 5 to 6 years, depending on their situation. And then from there, there's also other payment plans where it requires a little bit more complexity, like looking at their financials and negotiating, because if they can't pay it for a streamlined agreement based off of what they think they should be able to pay, then that's where our expertise comes into place as far as coming in, structuring their financials in order to get them the most favorable amount, which is really paying the least amount possible that's comfortable for our clients.
I got to tell you that I got a phone call the other day from a tax relief company, and that the whole like last month we have been getting a lot of calls from tax relief companies, and I finally asked the other day. I said, "What's going on?" We've never gotten this many calls from companies like yours, and he said all these new agents that they've hired, they are, there's no more pandemic anymore, and they are really going after people. And it's sad, but thank God there's a company like yours, Federal Tax Law Group.
Absolutely. That's what we're here to help people with. I know that they've bulked up their staff trying to collect. So our job here is, and actually I think Rachel could attest to this, but we have seen a lot of those LT11 notices coming out. So a lot more collections activity. So after COVID was done, or I guess we still have COVID and everything, but after the whole COVID pandemic, where the IRS got backed up quite a bit as far as their collections and just really processing returns and going through things, they really experienced a big backup. So now that they're trying to get themselves caught up, again, they've hired a lot of agents. They're now sending a lot more aggressive notices. So it's very common for many of our clients or prospects to see those notices coming down the pipeline, which can be very frightening because these are the notices where it's at the point where they can start garnishing their wages, levying their bank accounts, and things like that. So we are getting a lot of those calls where people are frantic and they don't know what to do. But
yes,
anybody that's gotten those notices, to make sure you take action immediately, because that means that they are going to take action fairly quickly. So you don't want to wait till they've already taken money out of your bank account, or you're getting the call from your human resources department where they have to at that point issue the wage garnishment. You want to make sure you get in front of it prior, because at that point, once your employer has received that wage garnishment notice, their hands are pretty much tied. Legally, they need to comply with that, and they need to remit whatever percentage it is of your wages that they deem necessary. And these notices, they can actually be coming from the IRS or the state, or in some cases both. So very important to get ahead of that. And then, of course, with bank accounts, if they've contacted your bank and they've withheld funds from there, if they put a freeze to bank accounts, very important to get on top of that quickly and contact an expert that can help, because normally what they'll do is they'll hold those funds for about 21 days from when the bank levy hits. And then from there, at that point, it's their legal duty with the bank to go ahead and actually forward those funds to the IRS. So at that point, they're gone, they're in the hands of the IRS. We've been very successful many times in getting those funds back, but it's a lot easier preventing it from happening than going back and pretty much trying to unwind the problem or whatever has already taken place. Because at that point, then we have the challenge and obstacle of actually trying to prove that without those funds, the client would be going through a very hard financial or a difficult financial hardship, which is typically needs to be something pretty extensive, whether it be they can't pay their rent, they can't pay maybe a vehicle to get to work, they can't afford to pay for food. But if it's a large amount and they have a lot of assets or a lot of money in the bank and it was just a portion, it could be challenging. So again, it's very important to go ahead and reach out to somebody for help prior to it getting to that point.
Ryan, I wanted to tell people, because when they start getting those notices in the mail, they freak out. A lot of times they just stick it in a drawer thinking it's going to go away. I want to tell people out there that if they retain Federal Tax Law Group, first of all, they don't have to talk to the IRS anymore, and you can make their lives so much easier.
Absolutely. You want to talk a little bit, Rachel, about what we can do for these types of clients?
Sure. Yeah. When, as you're saying, Steve, it's so common that they would get a notice, be frantic about it, almost ignore it. But all that does is just create a bigger problem. As Ryan was stating before, it's better to be proactive than reactive to avoid things from getting to extensive collections if we can. So we can help by filing our power of attorney. I tell my clients all the time, once our company represents you and we file our power of attorney, you also get a peace of mind. We will be contacting the IRS for you. We will be making sure, monitoring your case from ever reaching those collection actions such as bank levies or wage garnishments, and just really contacting them and negotiating them to get the best resolution in place without the extra collections happening.
We've been promoting the show all this week, and we got a letter from one of our listeners, and he wanted to know if he's married and he's worried about his wife, and he wanted me to ask you today, can they also go after his wife?
Yeah, they absolutely can. So typically when you're filing married, filing joint, they can come after both parties. They treat that debt as a joint debt. So they can come after husband and wife's bank accounts, even if they're held separately under individual names, they can still come after them for that. They can also go after each of their wages. So again, they can go after after their employer and pretty much force a wage garnishment and put that in place. Now, there are different programs though, like innocent spouse, but even with innocent spouse, that seems to be getting a little bit more challenging to go ahead and prove. A lot of times it may need to be some sort of either filing fraudulent returns or signing on behalf of the spouse without them knowing. The way the IRS looks at it a lot of times is that since you were both in the household, you mutually benefited from the income that was being received and taxes that were being paid. So even though you may be a housewife not working, you are still pretty much benefiting from that income that was coming in. So it can be a pretty tough fight, but we have been successful in many cases. But again, many times they want to see that there was some, I guess you can say, foul play where they went ahead and maybe signed off on the returns illegally, and that spouse really had no knowledge of what was going on. So it's become more and more challenging for cases like that as far as burden of proof when it comes to proving that. Would you agree, Rachel, or anything you want to add on that?
No, I do agree. And it's always so common for the IRS to challenge our position and really stand firm that taxes are due on income that is already received. Like Ryan states, the income that you received and you benefit off of is what should be taxed. And so we see so commonly that they're like, well, we can't afford the taxes. And, it's very hard nowadays for people to save money and prepare for a large tax bill at the end. So it is so important to be proactive as far as the income coming in and having proper withholding, both spouses, or, amp up extra withholding for the primary if they're the breadwinner to avoid situations like that.
Rachel, they're not going away, are they?
I don't think so anytime soon.
I mean, once they got their eyesight set on you, you've got to do something. And I tell people, don't try to do this yourself. If you're a business owner, I think this is true, that first of all, if you try to handle it yourself, just try getting a hold of the IRS and sitting on the phone for hours, right?
Correct. There are very long wait times. There are agents that are not equipped to handle your call after your long wait time that transfer you to a new unit that either restarts your clock in a wait time or you accidentally got transferred to the wrong unit and then you have to start all over again. So it is increasingly difficult as, tax professionals. That is our job, 8 hours a day, to be on hold on your behalf, advocating for you, making sure we're in constant contact for you as well.
And Rachel, you can actually, if you're talking to one of these IRS agents, you can actually say the wrong thing to them.
It is very common for taxpayers to feel cornered or scared when they talk to IRS agents, especially agents that are field agents and showing up to people's residence. So it is best to hire a tax professional who is well trained in your taxpayer rights, who know the resolution process in and out, as far as compiling a financial, benefiting you with the best resolution possible, to be the ones to do the contact, just to avoid giving up more information that could possibly be needed. And that's their scare tactic. They want to scare you. They want you to feel uneasy, and possibly give up more than is even necessary to reach a good resolution. I always tell my clients, be transparent with us. Definitely let your tax professional know what's going on, what your situation is, and then it's up to us with our trained expertise to remit to the IRS what's needed to reach final resolution.
And then the good part is they no longer, once they sign with you, they no longer have to talk to the IRS. Is that correct?
Yeah,
That is
that's right.
correct.
Yeah, so once we file what's called a 2848, which is an IRS-specific power of attorney that gives us authorization to represent them before the taxing agency, then at that point, we can handle all communication. So they'll still receive letters and pretty much getting updates as far as what's going on with their case. But as far as verbal communication or even submitting financials or taxes or things of that nature, that's normally done directly through our firm. So that takes a lot of that burden and stress away from the client.
We just got a text from Hanley in Sacramento. Great show today. What happens if you owe taxes for the last 4 years and you don't have money to pay for it?
Well, each case is definitely specific to what the individual's financial situation is. If there is an inability to pay, no money to make payments towards the IRS, a financial analysis can be conducted and submitted to the IRS in order to reach what could be considered a hardship status, or even a low monthly payment. We're talking $30, $40, $50 a month, something that could be potentially affordable for the taxpayer.
Ryan, can the IRS seize a bank account without notifying somebody first?
Typically, they're going to send the notices. So whether our clients receive them or not, I could probably say 99% of the time, they probably submitted some sort of notification letting them know. Sometimes people that haven't filed for a very long time, though, may not have accurate information with the IRS. So you may have an old mailing address that you lived at maybe 2-3 years ago. So they're sending out notices, and in their eyes, they're notifying you. So just because you're not getting those notices doesn't mean that they haven't done their due diligence and submitted, I guess, notification to you. So at that point, it may appear that they haven't notified you and they levied your bank account, but in many cases, they have sent those notices. And at that point, they've levied your accounts. So it is important to have updated information, because whether good or bad letters, you're not going to be receiving them. So it's very important to have accurate mailing addresses with the IRS. You can make sure that you're informed. And that way, if there is anything that's inaccurate, or if they're trying to come after you for certain years that maybe you don't owe, or maybe you did file and they're stating that you didn't, you want to make sure that you're able to get ahead of that.
This next text must be Rachel's cousin or somebody. What a great show. Can your guest tell us what an enrolled agent is? That's got to be a relative of yours.
An enrolled agent is a licensed professional that is able to be listed on the 2848, which is the power of attorney, in order to represent your case with the IRS. So once you sign that power of attorney, an enrolled agent, a tax attorney, a CPA can all handle the case as if we were the taxpayer directly. So we can enter agreements for you. We can submit financial information and ultimately obtain everything needed to resolve the case.
What about, I'm sure people who owe money to the IRS or who haven't filed, I'm sure a lot of them are worried about losing their house. What happens in that case?
Well, the IRS can seize assets, including your home. So The IRS, once they've filed liens against you and things haven't been resolved, they can come after you for that. In many cases, there are most cases where clients have contacted us with enough time, we can go ahead and stop that. I personally experienced cases where the IRS went ahead and put liens against a client, and then from there, it was actually a second home or vacation home for them. And they ended up pretty much letting it go. They didn't take any action or anything of that nature. And then when they contacted us, they had actually already seized the property. So that was a very long, drawn out case. We were finally able to get them to agree to turn back over the asset, but we had to come back, get them compliant. It was a very long process. We had to pretty much fight tooth and nail with them. And then from there, we had to make sure that they were making payments on their debt, because they weren't in a situation where they just didn't have money. Obviously, they had it was a vacation home, so they had assets. So what we had to do was structure something that was within their means, that the IRS was satisfied with, and we were able to get them to turn that back over. But they can definitely go ahead and seize assets. Most cases, though, we are able to get in there beforehand. So in many cases where they place liens against clients, what they normally want to do is see that they get paid before that house is sold. Make sure if you refinance or things of that nature, they're going to get paid out. So that's why it's very good, especially if they filed what's called a sub-super return, where they've estimated the taxes and they filed liens on an erroneous amount that's not true. We want to make sure that we go in, refile, bring down those debts to the correct amount, and then reassess, either get those liens removed or reassess to that lower amount, and then from there resolve the situation.
We always look through, especially Yelp and Google. Companies are getting ready to become an expert on our show. And I got to tell you that, there's some big companies out there, big major ads out there. I got to tell you, those people have the most X's against them, and it's mostly customer service. Hey, I paid my money and it took them forever to get back with me, or they never got back with me. I got to tell you, you guys have got really a clean slate, first of all. And Ryan, tell people how important customer service is to you.
Customer service is probably one of the top things on our priority list in dealing with clients. We understand it's a difficult, stressful situation to be dealing with. So as soon as we bring them on board, we try to set realistic expectations with clients that they're going to need to participate. So just because they've hired us doesn't mean that they can just wipe their hands clean of the situation. So in many cases, we are having to chase clients. So we are playing a big chasing game with clients, trying to get documentation and things that we need to resolve it. So it can be challenging sometimes to get clients to participate and get us what we need, but we make sure to stay on top of them and make sure that we're, I wouldn't say pestering them, but it can feel that way sometimes, where we're really having to nag them to get the stuff that we need. But we know it's a good thing, because at the end of the day, it's to help them out. So sometimes we really just need to stay on top of these clients in order to make sure that we can get the case all the way to the finish line. So that's one thing that we do pride ourselves in doing, and we've implemented different things from AI to automated messaging and things like that to really help stay on top of these clients' cases, to make sure that we can fulfill our end of the bargain and make sure that we complete their cases and get them a favorable resolution.
Okay, well, I tell our show always goes by so fast. Before we end today, tell people why they should retain your services rather than try to do this themselves.
I'll let you answer that one, Rachel.
And we've said it on the show already that we have a team of trained professionals. We have a team that is, like Ryan said, going to stay on top of staying in communication, getting what we need to get you a good resolution. Handling it yourself. We've had a handful of clients that actually have taken that option, and then at the end turned around and called us back like, I can't do it. I don't know what they're talking about on the phone. I don't understand it. So they turn around and ask for our representation after all is said and done. So I just think if you're not educated in it, leave it up to the professionals. That way we can just evaluate and strategize your file. That's ultimately going to benefit you and save you the most money. Our goal is to save our clients significant amounts on their cases, whether that be through a settlement, through a really low payment arrangement, whatever is going to yield them the best savings is one of our main goals here.
Let's give everybody that are listening on iHeart right now, let's give everybody your phone number and your website address.
Yeah, absolutely. So our website, which will give them a lot of good information on the different programs and just a general overview on tax resolution and what we can do. It's www.federaltaxlawgroup.com. So again, that's federaltaxlawgroup.com. And then a good number to reach us at if you'd like a free consultation or just ask some more questions regarding your case to see if we can help you is 800-881-7659. So again, that's 800-881-7659. And we have agents on standby. They can take you through a free consultation. They'll go through your situation. They'll see what you owe. They'll go through your financials. And then at that point, they'll be able to determine if this is the right route for you. So they'll let you know if we may have a case where we can qualify you for one of the programs. And if so, we can take the next step in pulling your records and seeing what the IRS has on file for you. And then from there, really strategize together to create the best plan of attack to get it resolved and put it behind you.
Well, what a great job you guys did today. And thank you so much. We will see you again soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for having us on the
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
That was the Federal Tax Law Group. They are amazing. Folks, don't try to do this yourself. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.